So let's do the interview. I haven't got a lot of time.
So,
Okay.
Will Bergman, welcome.
Thank you.
I'd like to start off today by asking you about how you got into acting.
Well, I think as a youngster, everybody's an actor for a while. But I'd say that it was 1990 where I first really begun in the business, let's say. I didn't start off as an actor, but I started off writing scripts. And I did a film with some producers about prisons, etc. And I wrote the script for that, and that's where it really started. And the question again was
Was how you got into acting.
how I got into acting proper. That would have started about 5 years ago after a trip to Europe, and I was at a bit of a loss to what to do. And a friend of mine suggested that maybe I could do some advertisements or something, just something to do. Anyway, I sent a photo off to an agent, and I was invited back into the office there, and I got signed up pretty well straight away. And from there, I did work on films as an extra. I mean, that's how you get introduced to the business for a lot of people that aren't formally trained. So I started off with San Andreas as the first film I was in, and then a number of ads. I've probably done about 40 projects in the last 5 years. Went from San Andreas to Aquaman and worked on that set as an extra, and I've done a lot of small films with new producers, new directors, and that's what I do.
So up till now, what's been your favourite role or your favourite moment in your acting career?
Oh, there haven't been that many, but well, 40's okay. I guess my favourite role, the most striking role for me, was a film called Arthur Blessed, which has recently got onto IMDb and is been featured in quite a few film festivals. And I worked with a young director there called Dylan Ferenc Nyerges. It's a Hungarian name, and it's a little bit hard to pronounce, but what a director. And I learned so much on that set, not only from Dylan, the director, but from all of the cast and crew. It's a brilliant film. Loved working with that. So, yeah, that's the one that really comes to mind. It's not the biggest project, but it's the project I felt the strongest about.
So who would you say your favourite actor is, or who has inspired you the most?
Hmm. Is it corny to say that Al Pacino? It's not that. It's Marlon Brando, because I'm still looking at his interviews on television. Fascinating guy, and my favourite movie of his was Don Juan de Marco with Johnny Depp. It's a small film, but so good, and yeah, he's my favourite actor.
So what are your thoughts on theatre acting versus screen acting in film, television?
Well, I've only done film, and I've had offers to do stage plays, but I really like film. I like the energy around it. I like the intensity around it. I like all the second and third and fourth and 15th chances that you get. It's not the end of the world if you blow it on film. And another great thing about film is that you've got so many people working behind the scenes. Starting off with the director, and then you talk about the editor, and you talk about the casting director and the costume, all working so hard for you to have a success, because of course your success is their success. And maybe one day I'll try the stage, but right now I'm going to say stage unseen, that film is my favourite. Yeah, I love it.
So do you have a favourite role or character that you would really like to play, or you really aim for?
Well, I'd like to play the parts that I've loved in film, and I've loved films like The Godfather. I like the darker dramas, the tragedies, and they're the ones I've always been drawn to. So yeah, I'd like to play those roles, and interestingly, I did an audition just a few days ago for a part that was it was a part that Brando had played in The Godfather once, and it was a few lines from that, and it was reworked, and but it was sort of based on that, so that was great to do that, a lot of fun, and I got the part very quickly. Um, Those are the parts that I don't feel that comfortable doing comedy, but I got to say, in acting classes, I got a lot of laughs, and it was a bit of a concern at first. Yeah, I remember being in a workshop, and I was doing my hardest to. It was a dramatic piece, and the people, I was new to it. All the actors were experienced. The director was very experienced, and they were laughing, and it crushed me. But the director said I was doing something funny, so they weren't laughing. He said, at my ineptitude, but something was happening. So maybe I'd be okay at that, but
So I was going to ask you if you had had acting lessons. So obviously you have. Is this something that you would recommend to others?
absolutely. I have had several acting coaches, and each one of them left an indelible mark. The first one was Phil Holder at the Warehouse Acting Studios here on the Gold Coast, and I worked with him for about a year, and it was tough going because I came into acting a little bit late. In fact, I came in very late. I came in so late that most actors are retiring at the time that I started. And Phil nursed me along and helped me discover who I was as an actor, and that was great. And then I worked with Hugh Parker, a stage actor, for a little while, not for very long, but every time you work with a coach, you pick something up. And my most recent coach was Jeff Seymour he has a podcast called The Real Life Actor. Anyway, he came over from America, and he'd been on a series there, Homeland, guested on that a few times. He had a show in Canada of his own that was very successful over a number of years, and he came to Australia, and we worked in a small group, probably about a dozen of us, intensely over a couple of days in an apartment, and changed a lot of things for me. So I would say to anybody that wants to act, get into acting, is get involved with a coach and learn about yourself.
So what are some of the difficulties you've had to face, either getting into the acting career or staying in acting?
The difficulties. Well, some of the difficulties are about having enough income to live while you're trying to get work. If you try and take on a full-time job, you need to get one that that is going to be understanding of you, because when you get called for a show, you get cast for a role, you've got to be there straight away. There's no second chances. So in some cases, you probably even have to quit your job if you haven't got a boss that's amenable to you doing that sort of work. What was the question again?
Any difficulties in staying in acting?
Yeah, well, the finances is one thing. Another difficulty is the assault on your sense of self, your ego. There's a lot of rejection in acting, and some people say that acting is auditioning. You want to be an actor, you got to audition. And because I was a writer before, and still am, before I started acting, I'm used to rejection. So that's something that you need to deal with. And yeah, it can be disheartening. But you press on because either because you must act or you're just so drawn to it, and it's just what you do.
So do people ever recognise you in public? And if they do, how do you handle this?
Well, it does happen. It has happened. I've been approached outside of theatres, recognised by a few people, and look, it's a lot of fun. It's nice to be recognised. It means that some of the work that you're doing is remembered. So just on that basis, on that level, it's great to be recognised. As an ego feed, well, who doesn't like being stroked? Who doesn't like all that love? So yeah, I have been recognised. And I remember recently that I had a meeting I was taking in the city, and one of the people at the meeting said something like, I was too starstruck to meet you. I'm no star, but I mean, when you hear that, it's fun, yeah. Especially at first when you're new to it, you have an image of what acting is and what it's all about, and those things change. Those ideas and those notions about what acting is, it changes over time. But in the beginning, it's fresh, it's new, it's exciting. And when you get recognised, you think, yeah, I'm doing something right. Nobody's going to recognise you if you've done a foul job in a role. If anything, they're going to probably try to avoid you. Not because you played badly, but because it's embarrassing if you mess things up. For me, it is. People say you shouldn't get embarrassed, but
So I was just wondering what your thoughts are on this whole Me Too movement that's been sparked by Harvey Weinstein and the controversy over all of that.
Harvey Weinstein. I guess Harvey was like a kid loose in a candy store. There's a lot of beautiful and interesting people in the business, and unfortunately, Harvey took advantage. There's a lot of passion. A lot of people want to do things, and I think he exerted a lot of unfair pressure on a lot of women. A lot of women have said that, and one story, two story, but there's been a lot. So, look, I just think it's not on. You can't go around doing that to people who are excited and passionate about moving into this business. So I think the Me Too movement is an expression from a lot of people about the unfairness that's been in the business. A lot of powerful people taking advantage. And I guess in the film industry, a lot of those powerful people were men. We'll see what happens in the future.
So the saying goes that the camera puts on 10 pounds. How have you found dealing with the weight issue in your acting?
Look, personally, I'm concerned about my weight, and it does put 10 pounds on you, and I've got already 20 pounds too many. But there are overweight people in life, and so I try and look at it like that. That I represent those people, or I represent those characters. they're there, and that's it. There are plenty of overweight actors that still can act. Marlon Brando got to be very, very large. Danny DeVito has an unusual shape. These days, I don't think it's such an issue. Not every film is a soap opera.
So would you recommend acting as a career to others?
In practical terms, yes. Yeah. Give it a go. Absolutely give it a go. If it doesn't work out for you, then you can not only change from acting, but you get into support industries around it. You know, there's wardrobe, there's set making, there's so many areas, technical areas as well. So if you really like the feel of the business, but acting is not working for you for one reason or another, then you can still stay in the business. So yeah, I'd say if you have a feeling for acting and a passion for it, well then try it.
So are you currently working on anything of any interest?
Look, I've always got a few projects on the go. It seems I'm working on a web thriller running out of Romania. I'm working on a voiceover project, and I'm working on another short film here on the coast or in Brisbane. Look, I've probably got more projects on the go. I've got what else have I got? Look, I've got to check my books. You know, when you're working on your current project, your head is full of lines, your head is full of characters, and you can lose track of what you're doing. I'm thankful I've got enough work that without looking at my diary, I can't even work out how much I've got.
Okay, well, thank you for coming today, Will Bergman. It's been interesting having this chat with you.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, and thank you very much.